Let's talk about eSports. That is competitive video gaming. As that business grows rapidly, there has been a lot of discussion and momentum around trying to get eSports into the Olympics. Actually, Intel will host an eSports tournament leading up to the 2020 Games, and that event is sanctioned by the IOC, but it is not an Olympic event. A lot of chatter, though, about trying to get eSports into the Olympics. And joining us to talk all things eSports is Ann Hand, CEO of Super League Gaming. Hi, Ann. Thanks for coming back on. Let's start by talking about the Olympics chatter. There are all these people trying to say, oh, let's get it into the Olympics, which seems a little soon, but all the people who say, hey, wait, it's a sport, so why not?
Absolutely. The thing that probably people have the hardest time getting their head around is just the fact that gaming really is competitive these days. It's almost become more and more democratized with mobile gaming and all the game streaming services that are out there, as you were talking about earlier. And so I think the likelihood that it will be demonstration in the Olympics and turn into a permanent sport is highly likely.
Maybe not 2020, but down the road.
Yes.
And so when we talk about esports, it was obviously around for a very, very long time in Asia, and it was a huge thing there. But here in the US, it's just starting to become super mainstream. So at Super League Gaming, or your company,
absolutely.
Do you see a surge in not only children, but female gamers as well?
Yeah, that's one of the things that's really different about gaming is that it really is a level playing field. You know, a girl can beat a boy. It could be a high school teenager, just like you saw at Arthur Ashe Stadium, who won $1 million in a global Fortnite tournament, be LeBron James for the day. And so ultimately, gaming is a much more accessible, affordable sport. I often try to tell investors, don't think too much about esports and let it be too niche or limiting to you in your thinking. Just think about the fact that, I often say I took tennis lessons as a kid, then I went to tennis camp. At some point, I wanted to join a team. And so as you level up in gaming, you want your opportunities to join a team. And to your point about being inclusive in gaming, one of the things that unfortunately happens when anything is done only online is it can be highly isolating. Right. We know that with social media, right?
And there's negativity.
That's right. So Super League's all about the mainstreaming of competitive video gaming, but also with a good sportsmanship layer, because what we want is we want young girls and young adult females, LGBTQ, physically challenged players. We want everyone to be able to come into an environment where their skills are equally respected, because really there is no reason why women can't compete at the same level as men.
So I'm wondering what kind of games you're seeing as becoming more and more popular, especially as companies like Apple are now jumping into the gaming space.
And it does feel, by the way, like Fortnite maybe peaked.
Right.
I don't know the numbers on that.
Right. What's next? Right. Everyone was on Fortnite. What's next? What's the next big thing?
It's a great question, and especially if you look at the landscape of games. I mean, there's so many different genres of games. There's 5 versus 5 games, 1 versus 1 game. So there's all different kinds of formats that people are interested in, and then skill levels added on top of it. So what we try to do is no different than an investor. We try to have a diverse portfolio, right? So we have all different types of genres. The street fighting game titles. There's a genre called MOBA, which is what League of Legends is. We try to have their strategic games that are very different in those 1v1 formats. Fortnite is kind of a 1 in a million, right? Thousands of games are launched every week, and most of them go away. So really the key is what are the 20 to 30 titles that are really going to have great longevity in the long term. League of Legends just celebrated a 10-year anniversary. And still, Fortnite is an awesome game that has, tons of players. So it's not going anywhere. But picking the next great Fortnite is a tough one. That's why being game agnostic was important to our platform from the very beginning. We want to be able to move with whatever game titles are right now in the zeitgeist for our players.
And just very quickly, you guys just recently went public, one of the few publicly traded companies.
That's right.
And I want to make sure viewers understand what you do. You put on amateur level tournaments. So a lot of the companies out there in the esports space do not make games, but they put on the tournaments, they do kind of the picks and shovels. What has being public meant for you guys? Has that been different?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny in the context of being in the green room and listening to your conversations about WeWork. There is a wonderful transparency that comes from being public. We knew that we wanted to be the first mover on NASDAQ, that the public markets wanted to participate in esports, and we wanted to give them that opportunity. We liked the fact that we were a rare liquid play in esports, but also that we were that game title agnostic play. And I think the smartest thing we did was go public early. I think that's the spirit of what NASDAQ was built to do. We didn't come out with crazy valuations. We didn't come out with massive operating losses. But what we did say is that we have a path to monetize this. Now, I will say one of the things that esports struggles with, because it's a new nascent space, is everyone's still getting their heads around how to monetize it. We do run leagues and tournaments, that's true. We partner with physical locations for field spaces like Topgolfs and Cinemark theaters, but we also run a lot of online experiences. But more importantly, in those ways, gamers are giving us their gameplay content, and we can rebroadcast them on channels and really kind of build that fan base for esports. But we have all kinds of ways that people participate on our platform. We have wonderful social channels where everyday gamers are giving us for free their highlight reels. And as you guys were talking about how dating apps monetize, you know, in some ways we're a modern media company in many ways, building digital audience as well around kind of the fandom of esports lifestyle.
All right, Ann Hand, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.